بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's كتاب شرح عجائب القلب, The Marvels of the Heart. This is book 21 of Ihya Ulumuddin, The Revival of the Religious Sciences, The Revival of the Islamic Sciences, translated by Walter James Skilly. We are on page 17, chapter 3, an exposition of the similitudes of the heart and its internal armies. So Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah said, know that the two armies of anger and appetence are sometimes perfectly obedient to the heart, which helps it along the path it journeys, and their companionship on the journey that lies before it is desirable. And on the journey that lies before it is desirable. But these two also disobey the heart at times, in trespass and revolt, until they gain the mastery over it and bring it into subjection. This results in destroying it and cutting it off from its journey, by which it might reach eternal happiness. And eternal happiness, of course, it means the hereafter, paradise. In a different context, Imam Al-Ghazali speaks about the continuous fight between the soldiers of the angels and the soldiers of Satan, and the battlefield is the heart. The heart has another army, which is knowledge, wisdom. And by wisdom, of course, al-hikmah, so al-ilm wal-hikmah, wat-tafakkur, and reflection, the explanation of which will follow. It should gain the assistance of this army, for it is the party of God. The exalted against the other two armies, for they may join themselves to the party of Satan. Of course, if we read the Arabic wording corresponds to a contemporary party movement, but that, of course, Imam Ghazali's text is a little more 900 years older than this contemporary movement. So against the other two armies, for they may join themselves to the party of Satan. If it neglects this help and gives the army of anger and impotence dominion over itself, it will surely perish and suffer a manifest loss. This is the state of the majority of people. for their intellects have been forced by their appetence to labor at basically devising stratagems to satisfy the appetence, whereas appetence should be forced by their intellects to labor at that which the mind needs. We'll make this clearer to your understanding by means of three examples. But maybe one comment before these three examples. The comment is that do not compromise with Satan. Do not accept you do just a little bit so you don't fend off 100%. It's tantamount to accepting like if you talk about your immune system and it is compromised, allowing some bacteria or some viruses or some fungus to attack the body. Just a little bit of them, but you know very well they are going to grow and grow exponentially with the bacteria, the virus, or the fungus. And over time, if not treated, they will take over the body. They will destroy it. No compromise with Satan. No compromise with the wrong way of life. No compromise with all the forces that try to sway and distract the Muslim from the Islamic worldview, from his or her relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the right way. No compromise in a loving and respectful way. Not loving and respectful to Satan, but I'm talking about the people who might help, communicate, intervene, intercede on behalf of Satan. No, thank you. So the three examples. Example one, we may say that the soul, I mean by the soul the aforementioned subtle tenuous substance, is like a ruler in his city. And his kingdom, for the body is the kingdom of the soul. Its world, its abode, and its city. The powers and members of the body occupy the place of craftsmen and laborers. The intelligent reflective power is like the sincere advisor and intelligent minister. Appetence is like an evil slave who brings food and provisions to the city. Anger and ardor, the Hamiyya, are like the chief of police. The slave who brings the provisions is a liar, a deceiver, an impostor, and a malicious person who plays the part of a sincere advisor. While beneath his advice there is dreadful evil and deadly poison. It is his wont and his custom to contend against every plan that the wise minister makes. Minister, we talk about a wazir, we talk about. So the minister here is an official, if you will. The wazir, and it was translated for a long time as the vizier in English. So it is his wont and his custom to contend against every plan that the wise minister makes, so that not even for an hour does he cease his contention and opposition to his opinions, to the minister's opinions. When the ruler in his kingdom seeks the advice of his minister and shuns the counsel of this vile slave, inferring indeed from his counsel that the right course is that which is contradictory to his opinion. And when the chief of police disciplines him and brings him under the authority of the minister and causes him to be under his orders, empowering him on his part over this vile slave and his followers and helpers, so that the slave is under authority and not the possessor of it, and so that he, the slave, is subject to orders and directions, and not the one who gives orders and directions, or, or who gives orders and directs. Then the rule of the king's, and the rule of his state is upright, and then justice is ordered because of him. Thus, when the soul seeks the aid of the intellect and is disciplined by the augur of anger, which it empowers over appetence, seeking the aid of one of the two against the other, sometimes by lessening the degree and excess of anger, by making an ally of appetence and gradually modifying it, sometimes by subduing and overcoming the appetence by giving anger an ardor power, over it, and by disapproving of its demands. Then its powers are made harmonious and its character comely. Whoever turns aside from this path is like the one of whom God exalted has said, "Have you seen such a one as takes as his God his own vain desire?" God has, knowing him as such, left him astray. وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. But before that, أفرأيت من اتخذ إلهه هواه وأضله الله على علم. So that's where it begins. He, the Exalted, also said, and followed his lust, and his likeness was as the likeness of a dog. If you chase him, he pants, or if you leave him, he still pants. فمثله كمثل الكلب إن تحمل عليه يلهث أو تتركه يلهث. And panting because the dog, they don't sweat enough to cool their bodies, so so the panting is that's the function of panting to my knowledge. And the third one, he said about the one who restrains his soul from lust. But as for he who feared standing before his Lord and restrained his soul from lower desires, then indeed paradise will be his refuge. وأما من خاف مقام ربه ونهى النفس عن الهوى فإن الجنة هي المأوى. The way in which these armies strive, and the way in which some of them are given power over others, will be told, if God the Exalted so wills, in the book of disciplining the soul. Example 2. Know that the body is like a city, and the mind, the aql, the perceptive power in man, is like a king who rules over it. Its perceptive powers of the senses, both external and internal, are like its armies and helpers. Its members, the organs, are like the people of the city, the soul that commands to evil, which his appetence and anger is like the enemy who opposes him in his kingdom and strives to destroy his people. His body thus becomes, as it were, a frontier outpost. A frontier outpost, that's, I think, Thagr. So think Thagr, Thugur, and that's usually at the time we talk about the edge of the Islamic State. And it says frontier because it was practically expanding within within extremely short period of time. Just think Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And Abu Bakr, he died radiallahu anhu, naturally within a couple of years of the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He sent two armies, one to the east and one to the west, north and then west, in a sense, northwest. To the east, you talk about the Persian Empire, and north and west is the Byzantine, the Romans, really. And that was it with the practically with the Persian Empire was no more. The Persian Empire was no more after the Muslims. And those Muslims initially talk about they were many of them were nomads, Bedouins, simple people. But it was more of a spirit, if you will, because they were, in the language of today, understaffed. The ratio to the enemies is very, small. Technologically, they were at a disadvantage. So you think about it, everything was not in favor of the Muslims except that spirit that prevailed, really. His body thus becomes, as it were, a frontier outpost, and his soul the place in which guards are stationed. So if he is one who strives against the enemy and routs him and conquers him as he ought, then will his deeds be praised on the day when he returns to the presence that is of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of God. As God the Exalted says, and those who strive in God's way with their wealth and their persons, God has preferred those who strive with their wealth and their persons a rank above those who sit still. فضل الله المجاهدين بأموالهم وأنفسهم على القاعدين درجة. But if he loses the frontier and neglects his people, his deeds will be blamed and vengeance will be taken against him from those, of course, who were neglected, that he neglected. When he meets God, the Exalted, a hadith says, when he meets, that's basically. But if he loses the frontier and neglects his people, his deeds will be blamed and vengeance will be taken against him from those he neglected when he meets God the Exalted. A hadith says, it will be said to him on the day of resurrection, O evil shepherd, you ate meat and drank milk. I did not bring back the lost nor restore the broken. Today will I, the one neglected. Today will I be revenged against you. It is also to this struggle that reference is made in the saying of the Prophet, we have returned from the lesser struggle to the greater. رجعنا من الجهاد الأصغر إلى الجهاد الأكبر, which we'd known that this hadith has a weak chain of narrators, but the meaning is inshallah is sound. So it was narrated by Al-Bayhaqi in Az-Zuhd. The previous hadith, so this one has weak chain narrators. The previous one, really it's not a hadith at all. It has no origin at all. And people strive. There's that struggle, an ongoing struggle, if you will. Example 3, and it's not a long entry. The intellect is like a horseman who has gone hunting. His appetite is his horse, and his anger is his dog. When the horseman is skilled and his horse well broken and his dog trained and taught, then he is able to succeed. Broken, talking about the horse being broken, probably the word tamed, so the word tamed might be more appropriate, but at any rate, so the horse is under control 100%. When the horseman is skilled and his horse well broken, tamed, and his dog trained and taught, then he is able to succeed. But when he is himself clumsy, his horse ungovernable, really wild, untamed, and his dog vicious. Vicious, really, probably bites, حقور. Then his horse is neither guided under him, nor does his dog go forth in obedience to his signs. So he himself deserves to perish rather than to gain that which he seeks. The clumsiness of the horseman is like the ignorance of a man, his paucity of wisdom, and his dim insight. The restiveness of the horse is like the victory of appetites, and especially the appetite for food and for sexual indulgence. The viciousness of the dog is like the victory of anger and its dominion, or domination rather. We ask God in His grace to grant us success. So when Imam Ghazali refers to the two appetites, food and intimate relationship, there should be no problem with that which is quote unquote normal, adequate, and the problem would be always with extremes, too much or too little, if you will. the next, inshallah, chapter that we'll deal with in the next session, chapter 4, an exposition of the special properties of the heart of man, بيان خاصية قلب الإنسان. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.